The backyard golf course build continues. Back at the backyard golf course, we've got the bent grass greens growing. They're almost 4 weeks old, and we've got the Kentucky Bluegrass all over the fairway and the rough area. And now I've got some sod showing up. I have this rim around the pond, and I want to make it really nice. I want to make it nice and clean with some bluegrass, and I don't want to deal with seeding a slope. It's just difficult. That's a pretty big angle over there by the pond. I'm going to get washout, going to get seed and soil going into that pond. We've got nice Kentucky Bluegrass sod ready to go. For this time of year, it is great weather, so we're gonna get this down. We've got all the sprinklers ready to go here so we can get water on it right away. So there's that slope, and it would be very difficult to do Kentucky Bluegrass there. It takes so long to germinate. Any hard rains, I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm just gonna get this sodded right from that huge rock around to that first pallet that we had back there. I think it's gonna be nice and clean. You can get down there, kids can fish, golf balls are gonna get down into that longer rough. I think it's gonna look really nice. Just clean this up instantly and not fight with seed on a slope for the next 6 months or so trying to fill it in. So there we go, we have 4 pallets, 700 square feet in each pallet. That should be more than enough to do the rim of this pond. But first thing I want to do is get the fertilizer out. I have some starter fertilizer that I'm going to put down on the soil first and then lay the sod on top. Along with laying the sod on the slope down to the pond edge, I have a little berm here, almost a dam of dirt. You can kind of pick up that angle. So I have a lot of water that sits on this surface, especially in the spring when the snow melts, and I don't want it going in the pond. I'm a bit of a freak on clean pond water, and the number one trick to have a clean pond is don't let any surface runoff, any erosion go in your pond. This is really good timing because look at how clean the pond got this week. That is why you'll see me laying this sod, and also there will be a light little knoll all the way across here. So that water is going to go down, follow this sod line, and I actually have a drain way down there that sends the water to a low spot. 16-32-6 is what we're going with. That's a good starter fertilizer. That middle number, 32, it's high, and that is for root growth. That phosphorus is going to drive that root growth, and that's what we want. We don't need any green growth this time of year. It is late in the fall. We really just want to get this stuff established, and that means get some roots on it. I think the best plan of attack is to focus on the top area. I think I'm going to go right around the pond with the top berm, this little dam area, wrap this in maybe 2 or 3 rows of sod all the way around. I got to make some curves, I got to make some turns, and then I think it's easier to build in from the bottom side down to the pond. We'll see. First roll of sod, oh, this stuff's heavy. First roll, I think there's 280 of them, so we'll see how this goes. Looking forward to the last piece already. Now, I am early on, it's only a few rolls in, but I will say this is actually kind of relaxing. You just see the lawn come to life immediately. This stuff, it just rolls out like carpet, and you have a really nice lawn. At this point, I gotta say, I'm enjoying it. This took about 10 minutes. We've got a really nice strip here. It can curve easily too. I was worried I have to cut the ends off of all the pieces as I came around this corner, but you can actually manipulate them and curve it. So this should go better than I thought. I'm just going to keep working my way right around the pond. I'll rake as I go to loosen up that soil. I just want those roots to bite into that soil as easy as they can. So I think I'm just gonna do one big strip. That's going to define the area, and then I'll just work down to the pond. That's 2 of 4 pallets done. This wasn't too bad of an area. It is a little bit tougher on a hill. Be a lot easier putting this down on a flat lawn. I started at the bottom and worked my way up after doing this band here, because when you walk on this with one piece from the top, you will slide down a bit, you kind of surf on it. But when I started at the bottom, it stacks itself nicely together. As I got up the hill, I wasn't parallel here, so I just rolled out sod and cut it. I got this sod knife on Amazon. It is dirt cheap, like 10 bucks. It is so sharp, I actually cut myself, had to go in and get patched up. Super great to cut sod with. I have a lot of rock to cut around, so we'll be using the knife quite a bit here. I think if I take my time, make some really nice cuts around this rock. It's gonna look great. That extra little bit of time, I think the detail is gonna really set this off. I am at the last roll of sod, the last piece of sod. Can't believe it. This was a lot of work. An empty pallet is the greatest thing to see when you're in the sod business. 700 square feet on each pallet. I had 4 of them, so 2,800 square feet. This looks so good. We're waiting for the bluegrass to germinate. It's slow. I'm hoping in the next couple days I see some green here because it gets cold after 3 or 4 days here. Not really that difficult cutting around all this stone. Just take your time. Use the knife as a scribe tool. It looks so good now. The gray limestone is really set off. It pops out of that nice rich Kentucky bluegrass. I knew I needed 3 pallets to get to about here, but I wanted to continue with that berm here with the water in the spring. Again, we're getting into winter. We're gonna have a lot of water pouring out of here. So this was a bit of a make work project last minute because that sod was actually starting to go yellow. It was warm, it was composting itself, which was crazy. So I had to come out early this morning, started on this area here, and now we just have that nice little bit of a shelf beside the golf green. If you miss a shot, you got a chance to stay up here before it goes down the hill, and it's also gonna hold that water. Very warm temperatures for this time of year, and I will never complain about the heat in late October. I am way up north here, above the 45th parallel. So this is t-shirt and shorts. I could definitely have shorts on today. Almost unheard of, doesn't happen that often, but that heat was hard on the sod. In the pallets, it was actually warm. I could see the steam coming off of it this morning when I came out, and it took me a while to realize it until I rolled a few out. I could smell it. It was actually starting to compost itself. I've made a bunch of compost videos on my other channel. I know how to make good compost. You need that carbon to nitrogen ratio. And when you look at a roll of sod, it is almost a perfect carbon to nitrogen ratio. You've got the carbon in the dark, rich soil, and you've got the nitrogen in the green grass. And as they roll that up, it's a perfect layer system. So it was getting warm, it was turning yellow, and I bet if I left a few rolls out for a week or two, they would be totally composted. But I think it's all going to survive. It'll be okay. I'll give it a good watering. It's still got some good color to it, but it was definitely starting to get warm. And with the last piece, I fittingly have to cut around another rock. I've had a lot of cutting to do. And that's gone. And that fits quite nicely. And when I look at the underside of the sod, it was healthy. There's a good soil it came with. And you can see these white little roots are shooting out. And what those are rhizomes. And Kentucky bluegrass, notorious, and that's why everybody loves it. It shoots out rhizomes under the surface, and that little white root will travel over and then shoot up and actually become its own plant of grass. That is how Kentucky bluegrass spreads itself, by all these little white rhizomes. So nice to see those in the cool fall weather. Kentucky really goes crazy and pushes out some rhizomes, especially if you can keep the water on it and give it some nitrogen. And that is the main reason why people love Kentucky bluegrass. If you can take care of it with some water and some feeding, it'll take care of you by spreading itself long term. It can really fill in a lawn quickly in a couple years by shooting those rhizomes out. The soil was healthy. I had a lot of worms come in, which was nice to see. And even a few of the dreaded, look at that, a lawn grub. I'm sure the sod company loves this, me showing the lawn grubs that came in my sod. It wasn't too bad. There was definitely a few of them this time of year. Probably not that uncommon. There's a few of them right there. Oh, the last piece. I've been dreaming of this for 2 days. I've never laid sod before. It's pretty much common sense. I don't have any stakes in here. This is a pretty big hill to have no stakes. This will start to root itself in a week. I'm gonna gamble and hope that we don't get a big washout, because these pieces are almost like rugs. They'll just slide down the hill, and I'm gonna cry if I see that, but I didn't get any of the pins or the stakes to put it down. I think it's going to be fine, but if you were doing a big hill like this, you probably wanna pin that stuff down. If you're doing sod, it's nice to do a brick pattern, so where I end here, you want to start another one over here and not have not have your lines all lined up. It's nice to stagger them for added strength. It's going to look a little better too as it fills in. I've just been pushing it down, keeping the seams tight. You can kind of feel them with your fingers. Push it all tight everywhere. Pack it down. Don't be afraid to stand on it. Get those seams nice and tight. Get the body of the sod nice and tight to the soil. You want that root to soil contact. That's going to set the roots off a little quicker. There we go, 4 pallets done. It looks so good. I actually didn't mind that because you can work hard for half an hour and then look back and see some really nice green lawn. So it is instant gratification. Like I said, mostly common sense. There's a little, you can read about it out there, do some Googling, do some YouTube. You'll see how to lay sod. Don't be afraid to tackle it yourself if you've never done it before. Good exercise, good work, and it looks good in the end. Grubs, those lawn grubs. There's one thing that really likes lawn grubs, and it is fish. So we'll see if we can get a couple of the little minnows to come over and eat these grubs. They love grubs. And you can see how nice and clear that water is. That's really why I wanted to do this sod berm here, just to keep those nutrients and the runoff out of this pond, because it is so nice when it's clear. In the summer, if I get a big storm, it'll pour rain and mud and sand in, and for 2 to 3 weeks, it goes from brown to green and then slowly back to this. Up next, it's time to mow these greens for the first time.